The Little Belly Dancer. Narrated, written, and created by Taylor Turner. Chapter 2. "Mama?" Laila asked meekly. The edges of her strength were beginning to crack. Mama shook her head, eyes red with crying and cheeks damp with tears. "This is not my decision to make, Laila." "But Laila didn't finish her thought. Mama stood and kissed Laila on the forehead. "Do what you feel is right." She followed Baba out the room. "You're leaving?" Jubaila's eyes widened as Laila stared after their parents. "Yes, Jubi," she said, just above a whisper. "Why?" Jubaila had a difficult time understanding. Surely she did not have to stop dancing forever. Laila just had to wait, that was all. How could she want to leave? Laila turned to Jubaila, and a few frustrated tears escaped the corners of her eyes. "Dancing is my whole world, my whole life." She looked at the ceiling, then caught Jubaila's gaze. She could tell Laila wanted to say something else, but was met with silence. She completely understood that what her sister spoke was the truth. "Laila, do you really have to?" "Yes, I really have to." Laila embraced Jubaila, holding her tight and close. "But I will write you. Every day I will write you. This will not be forever." Jubaila cried silently into Laila's shoulder. She couldn't leave. Surely she could change her mind. It was just dancing. How could dancing mean more than family? For a moment, Jubaila understood Baba's anger. She watched Laila gather her silks and bells and sandals. And in a moment's glimpse, she was gone. Jubaila didn't sleep well that evening. Everything about her sister's exit was troubling. Jubaila felt a sense of unease within her body. Her only spark of inspiration in her life was gone. Life without Laila was like a morning without the sun. Time continued to pass, but the joy and laughter were stolen away from it. Jubaila shouldered all of her chores on her own. She was a bit older now, and they became easier with experience. She continued to help her mother with weaving baskets, stitching clothes. She cleaned the boats and tended to the donkeys. All the while, Laila had kept her promise, writing her sister every day. Jubaila had learned to be crafty, grabbing the mail early in the morning before Mama and Baba had awoken for their responsibilities. Hiding each letter primarily from her Baba, Jubaila treasured each one and read Laila's passionate words in secret. Laila's letter read, "My dear sister, it is my duty to remind you that I love you and that I will never leave you, but I am always with you at all times. I am now in the city of Luxor. I am sure that you are aware it is beautiful here. My friends and I are welcome, and the people are very generous to the Gawazi. We have created new dances and everyone enjoys it. I wish you were here. I miss you so much. Love you always. Laila." One afternoon, Jubaila came home from the street market selling her mother's baskets. From a small distance, she spotted her Baba outside in the farm talking to a royal guard. The discussion was quite discreet and raised suspicion in Jubaila. She had seen the guard before, but never speaking to her Baba outside of their home. Their conversation didn't look good. A shadow of distress veiled Baba's face. Once he saw Jubaila looking towards his direction, he looked at her stiffly and slowly walked inside the house. Jubaila knew better than to question him, so she suppressed her inner curiosity of her father's dealings. As she walked closer to the house, she noticed Baba had walked past a piece of papyrus on the ground. It was a letter from Laila. Jubaila took hold of the letter and ran past her father, who was standing in the kitchen, and straight into her room. As Jubaila read it, her eyes widened with excitement. Laila had invited her to Luxor for a fertility gathering. As Jubaila read more, her sister wanted her to come down within 3 days to help her celebrate and learn some of her belly dancing ways. The letter also came with detailed instructions on where to find her. Jubaila was hesitant as she continued to read the letter, but soon agreed within her heart to go along. She wanted to be with her sister in any way possible. After all, life with Mama and Baba was beginning to bore her, and it had become lonely. During her days of preparing to leave for Luxor, Jubaila had dinner with her parents the night before her departure. As they sat around their sufra, the swift aromas of fresh koshari lured Jubaila to eat. However, she found herself more hungry for answers from her Baba, with whom she became more angry. The family ate in mere silence, as it has been like this for a while since Laila had left the home. Jubaila stared at her food, then looked at her Baba, stuffing his face. "Baba, I miss Laila," Baba continued to eat in silence. He raised his eyebrows at Jubaila's comment, but made an effort to ignore his daughter. Jubaila starts again. "Baba, can Laila come home now? It has been nearly a year. I miss her and I want her to come home." Baba looked up at Jubaila and continued to give her a menacing stare. Jubaila glanced at her mama, whose head was down. Baba took a sip from his ola. "Even if you don't believe, Laila is a beautiful dancer. She is still a woman, Baba. She could be in danger." Baba slammed his ola on the ground. Water carelessly splashes from the jug as he began to speak.
"Jubaila! No. Your sister is not who you think she is. She is not just Ghawazi. She has shamed herself in all of Cairo. Do you want to be a prostitute too? Do you want to be known for that?"
Jubaila's heart dropped as she became offended. She struggled for a moment. "Baba, Laila does not sell herself." Mama then looked up from her food and shot a glance at Jubaila. "Jubaila, do not contend with your father." Feeling misunderstood, Jubaila walked away into the shadows of their house and into her room. She lit her candle and continued to work on her new dress for the party. Tears of frustration flowed from her eyes as she angrily stitched her creation. She continued to sew into the night. As the next day came, Jubaila had awoken with inner excitement. It was finally time to see her sister. Knowing her family wouldn't agree with her secret visitation, she decided to lie and tell her Mama and Baba that she was going to visit her grandmother in the city of Kina for a few days. Her parents approved, and soon enough Jubaila was on her way to visit her sister by taking her Baba's boat. Once Jubaila arrives in Luxor, she noticed the distinct difference between her seemingly archaic hometown and the modern style of the city. She finally found the small house in which Laila had described to her. The house was slightly bigger than Jubaila's house in Cairo, but still made of mud brick like nearly everyone's house in Egypt. Outside the home, she heard the familiar high-pitched buzzing tune of the mizmar. Unsure of what to expect, out came a male performer she had seen but never fully met. "Jubaila, you have come," he announced. He is dressed in a similar attire of the Ghawazi, wearing flowing harem pants and jingles around his waist. Jubaila was still a bit surprised that he danced alongside her sister, as she thought only women were to dance. The man sensed Jubaila's questionable suspicions about him. "I am Hawal," insinuating that he was a male dancer. "My name is Ahmed," Jubaila smiled shyly. "Come, we must practice." As soon as they turned to go inside the house, Laila came out with a fervent smile on her face. Her dancing top and skirt was made of all gold fabric, The shiny beads and coins of the gold bedla made her look as if she could be the beautiful bride of the sun god Ra. Jubaila, my sweet sister, you are here! Laila runs towards her little sister and grabs her hand. Come, let's get you dressed and ready. The couple is waiting. Jubaila and Laila went towards the back of the house. As they passed by the front, she saw a glimpse of the couple sitting on a green rug on the floor, surrounded by a pile of pillows, looking excited as they waited for the party to start. The couple's parents were there mingling with them as everyone was getting ready for the performance. Jubaila was soon accompanied by the rest of the dancers. With the music playing and the routines being rehearsed, Laila took hold of Jubaila's bag. What do we have here? She gasped as she finds the dress Jubaila had made for herself. Jubi, this is delightful! But your albatno should be out. Laila touches the torso part of the dress. This is for today, yes? She asks. Jubaila nods. I hope it's good enough for the celebration. Laila nods her head. It's okay. Put it on. I'll show you the dance. Jubaila puts on the dress. Her belly is covered, but she is still able to dance in it. Laila then placed a green veil over Jubaila's head, rubbed kohl on her eyelids, and red ochre on her lips. Now you look like one of us, she touches Jubaila's stomach. Almost. She laughs. Laila turned to open a small box holding a pair of sagat. Here, these symbols attract the gods to bless the family with fertility and a healthy baby. Jubaila nodded as her sister continued to explain. I am a Saidi dancer now, Laila giggled. We dance with sagat, and Ahmed and the others will dance with sticks. The dance is called Tatib. Jubaila looks confused. Laila continued. It is a dance with a stick to represent for today the struggle of creating a baby. But you, me, and my other dancers will bring joy and hope with the sagat. We want to give the couple a blessing they will not forget. Jubaila now understood. Her sister had now adopted a new style of dance, the dance of Upper Egypt. Okay, so when we come out, we start with the Hagala. Laila started to instruct her sister. Egyptian walk? Jubaila asked. Yes, move your hips side to side. Can you do that? Jubaila shakes her hips playfully. Okay, good. You got that part very well. In Hagala walk, you take one step and bend your right knee. Your right hip should be down. Laila does the move in front of Jubaila. Jubaila watches eagerly. Then, you shift your hip more to the right. Then lift your left foot. Step down. Your left hip should be down. Then shift to the left. Start again. Laila walked towards the other dancers in the room rehearsing. Injila, watch out! Injila, another dancer, makes way. Jubaila continued to watch her sister show the example. Laila turned around to face her sister. Now you try. Remember, start in a neutral standing position, knees a little bent. Jubaila got in position. She took a step with her right foot, creating her right hip to go down. She shifted and moved to the left, taking another step. Jubaila slowly adopted the move, walking forward. Good! You've got it, Jubi! Laila is excited her sister is learning the move. The two practiced the Hagala for a little bit. Next, Jubi, we will learn Tagadan, which means ripple the waist like a wave. Laila effortlessly ripples her abdomen. Jubaila looks in wonder. She's seen her sister do it on stage, but up close it seemed impossible to learn. Jubaila wiped her brow. Okay, Laila. Laila instructs her sister more. Arms out! Lift your chest up! Up, Jubaila, up! Injila and the other dancers start to look at the sisters as Laila's instructions gain volume. Then push your stomach forward. Good. Now hips forward. Hips, Jubaila, your pelvic area. Jubaila slowly but surely started to ripple her abdomen. Good. Now at the same time, open your hands. Laila slides the finger symbols onto her sister's index fingers and thumbs. Clap your sagat together with your fingers. Chim chim chim, chim chim chim. Jubaila clinks the sagat together with her fingers while rolling her abdomen. Laila's face lit up as she realizes her sister's great potential. As the Gawazi practiced for an hour, Laila decided that Jubaila was ready and had the confidence that she had the dance memorized. However, Jubaila was a bit nervous and shaking like a leaf. And remember, Jubi, come out after me and do the hagala. You will remember the rest. They walked towards the front of the house. The dancers silently got in place. The mizmar stopped. The couple and their parents ceased their talking as the belly dancers got into position. In a second's time, from behind the curtain, Laila suddenly performs a Zaruta cry of joy. She came out from behind the curtain walking in the Hagala style. With her silk veil and finger cymbals in hand, Laila swirled around, waving her veil like a flowing stream of gold. She quickly walked up to the couple and waved the veil over the eager couple's heads, symbolizing the bringing of prosperity. Laila continued to spin in a circle as a darabuka drum and mizmar livened her movements. She then did a hip shimmy on her tippy toes in a backward circle in the middle of the floor. The male dancers imitate the fighting with sticks on the side of Laila. The other dancers continued to wave their green veils over their own heads and encircled Laila as she hip-dropped each hip and camel-waved her abdomen, ending with a belly pop. Angela and the other female dancers of the Gawazi lifted their veils and formed a moving circle around Laila, kicking their legs out with popping hips, waving the veils quickly in a vertical direction. Laila, in the middle, had let go of her golden veil and started chiming away, clipping the sagat with her fingers. Encircled by the dancers, she whipped her hair round and around while doing the Zagruta cry again, signifying the new freedom for the couple's fertility. The other female dancers loosened up their circle, tossed their veils, and used their sagat to magnify their movements. The music continued to play, and a slight pause in Laila's performance commenced. It was now Jubaila's turn to come out. As she hid behind the curtain, shivering out of fear, her nervous thoughts were interrupted by her sister's hand and smiling face. It's okay, Al-Kashira. Come, she is waiting for your magic. Laila grabbed her sister from behind the curtain. Jubaila smiled anxiously and does the Hagala walk, raising her hips up and down with every step. Her foot tripped over one of the rugs in the middle of the floor. Jubaila didn't fall, but she did stumble a bit. She looked around. Her sister maintained her encouraging smile. Everyone knew this was her first time dancing. She then changed her moves and twirled around with the sagat, tapping her fingers together. She looked back at her sister for a quick nod of validation, then quickly walked up to the couple and selectively chimed her fingers around the woman's head, symbolizing fertility to fall upon her. The woman smiled and giggled as she believed their dancing magic had blessed her with the favor from the gods. Jubaila felt the satisfaction from the desperate woman as she chimed her way back towards her sister. They both waved their arms like Kenyan sand boas in the air, chiming the sagat and doing the tagadan with their stomachs. Happily hypnotizing the couple, they clapped and applauded as the sisters danced like twins. Sharp, identical movements and with perfect timing. Jubaila felt a bit more confident as she saw that the family was pleased with her performance. She couldn't believe she remembered the routine, and so quickly. Ahmed and the other men of the dance group's stick fight became more intense. One man won the stick fight and the other one lost, symbolizing the woman's fight with having a baby was now over. The peace for the couple had begun. The dance soon ended, and the couple had prepared a festive meal to thank the dancers and musicians. "We have been waiting for this moment for so long," the woman exclaimed. Her husband passed the food around the wooden table. Plates of foul madames, cooked pigeon, kebab, kofta, and more accompanied the dancers and family with joy and communion. "Remember to drink all your juice, Jubaila. You'll never get married." Jubaila rolled her eyes and swallowed every last drop. Love wasn't a huge priority to her, but she did want a man in her life eventually. As Jubaila talked and laughed with the others, she couldn't help but realize how much different Laila became. She seemed happier. Her outfits were brighter. Her jewelry was much more elaborate, and her dancing companions had performed even better than before. Belly dancing seemed like the direction to a good and exciting life, but the negative opinions of her parents seemed to dampen that aspiration. Jubaila and her sister began to have a side conversation at the table about her older sister's dwellings outside of Cairo. She learned that she had been doing much better in Upper Egypt, but still missed home immensely. She then told Jubaila something unexpected. "Jubi, I have a secret." Jubaila's eyes brightened. She loved sharing sister secrets. "I met a man, a Turkish man." Jubaila grinned devilishly. She loved talking about her sister's love life. "He is handsome, but I don't want to be stuck in mud. I wish to stay free." Jubaila gloomed with disappointment. How could her lovely sister turn down such a thing? After all, any man in Egypt would fight for Laila, like warriors. After the celebration dinner, the group thanked the couple for the meal and said their goodbyes. The dancers all walked down the narrow streets of the city village and stopped by a small oasis with palm trees swaying in the breeze. Laila sat under a tree and patted the ground to invite Jubaila. Laila started to braid Jubaila's hair, sitting against the tree, and decided to ask her the big question. "So, how did it feel to dance for someone for the first time?" Jubaila smiled softly as she reminisced the feeling. "I felt..." Laila and Jubaila sit in silence as they both internalize the coming of her hidden truth. "I felt free." The gentle breeze blows strands of hair in Jubaila's face as she exhaled her relief. She did feel free, and it felt good. Laila glanced at the rest of the Gawazi, playing in the water of the oasis, splashing and enjoying themselves. She looked back at the braided work of Jubaila's hair. She sensed there was more. "What are you afraid of?" she asked tenderly. Jubaila took a moment to respond. I don't want to become the wrong thing. I don't want to become something more than I can handle," she intelligently answered. Her truth had been released. Laila finished her braid and swung it around her shoulder. "Jubaila, personal freedom is the doorway to life." The day came for Jubaila to leave and set sail back to Cairo. She had experienced some of the camaraderie with the Gawazi, but was mainly focused on spending time with her sister. Laila gave her sister a bit of traveling money and more for their parents, then she headed off. When Jubaila stepped foot back home, her mother met her with suspicion as she came home a day later than expected. Mama squinted her eyes as it was nearly sunset. Mama walked in the house without saying a word and allowed Jubaila to walk in the house and go into her room quietly. As soon as Jubaila took her red dress and veil her sister gifted her out of her bag, Baba was standing right behind her in the doorway.
"Where did you go, Jubaila?"
Baba looked at her sternly. Jubaila paused and turned around, attempting to hide her dancing attire. "Baba, I was with Tita,
You went to visit your sister, didn't you?
Baba cuts her off. Jubaila stared at her father. No, Baba nudged his head sideways towards Jubaila.
"What is behind you?"
Jubaila is silent.
"What is behind you, Jubaila?"
Baba walks heavily in her direction, and quick. He pulls the dress and veil from behind her back. "Baba, that is mine!" Mama peeked her head from the corner of her daughter's room.
"You were dancing, weren't you?"
Baba's eyes widened with boiling fury. Jubaila looked at her mother, who quickly disappeared as soon as they made contact. "No, Baba, I wasn't. Baba bent over to take off his leather sandal to hit Jubaila. But as soon as he raised his hand, he realized that Jubaila was getting too old for that type of punishment. Jubaila braced herself for the beating. Baba then pointed the sandal in the direction of the front door.
You will pick every weed in the farm, and you will clean the entire stable until dawn.
Jubaila's eyes watered up in frustration and put her head down in submission. Yes, Baba, she muttered. Jubaila quickly walked out the room and found her mother in the corner of the common area, sipping water from their olla, the clay jug. She avoided contact with her daughter. Jubaila walked out to the farm and got to work. As the night crept in, Jubaila looked up at the dark sky while scrubbing the outside of the stable. She saw a falling star and wished that she could be, one day, as independent as her sister. 3 months passed, and Jubaila was walking home from babysitting at a neighbor's house, a new job she picked up trying to help her family. She suddenly heard a clay vase crashing and yelling in the distance. She saw the remnants of the vase tossed outside her home. It was her parents. Her attention then focused on a giant crow sitting on top of their roof, with wings of black velvet cawing at the scene. Worry flooded Jubaila as she heard the bird and watched it as it flew away. As she came inside the house, she stood in their matbak area, where they commonly ate meals. Mama and Baba were exchanging words of agonizing aggravation. The candle in the kitchen light began to flicker as the arguing continued.
Abasi, you were supposed to pay this a long time ago. What have you been doing?
Mama screamed at Baba. Baba shakes his head furiously. He did not like being challenged by his wife.
The Pasha will cause great harm to our family, don't you understand?
Jubaila figured out what they were talking about. Baba had not been paying taxes on his farm. Mama had a letter in her hand and slapped it on his chest as she left the room, distressed. Baba held the letter and stared straight ahead, refraining from acknowledging Jubaila's presence. He let the letter fall to the ground and followed his wife to their room. The argument continued, but was heard only in faint mumbles. Jubaila picked up the crumpled letter and read it. The Ottoman Empire had given her family a warning about confiscating their land. Jubaila drops the letter and runs the opposite way of her parents' room into her room, lighting one of their big oil lamps from the weaving chamber. She wrote a new letter to her sister, frantically thinking about the potential consequences of their father. When she finished the letter, she spent some time in prayer and went to bed.